anybody that sold it for a day knows exactly what you're talking about. This is the only objection, right? Is that
So, been out in the field and I live in the South. So I'm thinking that that might impact a little bit of my experience, but I'm
sure.
getting quite a lot of objections when it comes to cash discount and why they should not be doing that because their customers would say no and object to that, and wanted to pick your
Sure.
brain on expertise on overcoming some of those objections to move them off the interchange platform and more into
Cash
cash
discount.
discounting model.
Cool. Love it. Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, just for context, are you like walking in cold turkey to the business? Is that the way you're prospecting?
Both. I do a lot of referral business,
Okay, cool.
for sure, but
Yeah. But you're doing
mixed bag.
this interaction is happening face to face though.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so a couple things. Number one, I would tell you before I tell you how to overcome these objections, let me first tell you how to avoid them in the first place, right? And how to minimize them. So the most important thing here is going to be your mindset and understanding that you actually do not have to win this particular argument in order to get the sale. So the problem I see a lot of times when we're selling cash discounting, and of course, anybody that sold it for a day knows exactly what you're talking about, because this is the only objection, right? Is that my customers are not going to like it. So ultimately, if they thought their customers were going to be okay with it, there's obviously no reason that they would not sign up, because they're going to like wipe out their processing fees. So what I like to do is, number one, I want to back off mentally and say, okay, I'm going to present some options to them, but I really want to validate their opinion. And I want to tell them that they could be right. Okay. So I don't want to have any kind of divisive conversation. So it goes something like this. I usually say, Susan, that first of all, that is obviously that's the objection that all of my clients had at the beginning, and it is a very valid objection. So let me give you some context, because again, I've had the benefit of seeing this play out at our company. We've seen it play out, thousands of times with different business owners. So I literally have the numbers I can share with you. So I can tell you that about 1 out of every 20 business owners that tries to implement this program, it's not the right fit for them because of the reason that you said. Their customers don't like it. Maybe it's geography. It's hard to even know what the issue is, but we have seen about 1 out of 20, so about 5% of the time, they roll it out, they do it for a day, a week, a month, and they say, nope, this is not for me. So it's very important for you to understand, Susan, that you could be that 5%, you could be that 1 of 20. And so I think it's important we talk about that. Okay. So let's say now I don't think you're going to be that 5%, obviously, otherwise that's my job is to not think that's going to happen. Right. So let's assume though that you are. Okay. Here's what would happen. Once I set you up, I'm going to give you 2 written proposals. The first proposal is going to be how much I could save you with cash discounting, which is pretty simple to figure out. I'm going to basically wipe out your processing costs for the most part. The second proposal is going to be traditional processing. So let's assume that you try cash discounting and it doesn't work, and we got to switch you back to traditional processing. I want to make sure you understand I'm not going to lock you in a box or anything. We're going to make it very easy for you to do that if it's not the right fit. And I'm still going to save you money. In fact, I'm going to give it to you almost for cost, just as a thank you for trying the program out. So really the question comes down to this, Susan. Would you be more comfortable trying cash discounting to see if it works? Hopefully you're that 95% where it does work. Your customers are fine and you save a fortune, knowing that you're able to switch to traditional processing if you need to. Or would you feel more comfortable switching to traditional processing with somebody like me, knowing that as cash discounting becomes more popular in the community, you can always flip a switch and move to cash discounting and wipe your processing fees out? Which of those 2 approaches are you more comfortable with? So what's your honest opinion though? If you approach it like that, what are some of the other objections that you think you might still get from them?
So I would say maybe 70 to 80% of the time at that point, they're like, I'm just not, I'm going to go ahead and just stick with what I know, and that's fine. And of course, I usually close the sale at that point. It's just not, I think it's a win-win for them and for, as a rep to be able to eliminate their processing fees. So
Yeah.
why not give it a whirl?
Right. Right. So, I mean, are you presenting it that way? Obviously, I'm assuming you are, as far as it's like a trial period. If you don't like it, you can go back. Right. Got it. So at this point, there's only one lever left to pull. Okay. So in other words, you already have the logical side is done. Like it makes sense, right? They're still not doing it. So at this point, the only reason they're not doing it, it's important to kind of internalize this as a salesperson, is that they don't believe you. You know what I mean? So if they did, they would move forward, right? So they don't believe you, and that's totally fine. That's sales, right? That's our job. We got to convince people. So what I would say to do is I would set up like a 3-step close on this, and I would just really try hard to close them with the personal pitch. So let me tell you what I mean by this. So let's say I said what I said earlier, then you responded as the merchant. I'm just going to stick with what I got. And I'd say, and again, I used Susan earlier, so I'll stick with that, even though you're Erica. So Susan, here's the thing. Okay. And I totally get where you're coming from. I can respect that. You've been in business for a long time, and I respect your experience and your savvy. But here's the thing. Not only do I really want your business, I love getting phone calls and emails from my clients 2, 3, 4 months after implementing this program, when they tell me, James, we got like 4 complaints over the course of 3 months, and we already saved, $12,000. I live for that. Like, this is what I personally do. And here's the thing. I am giving you my personal guarantee, my word, that if this program in any way is negatively impacting your business and you feel like it's not a good cost exchange, which again, I can tell you right now, there's a 95% chance that it's not going to happen. But if it does, I give you my word, I will literally drive out here if I have to the same day to swap that terminal out or to turn off the feature or whatever I need to do to get you back to traditional processing. And so there's not going to be any, lasting issues or whatever, because I'm going to take care of that. So here's the thing. If I am personally willing to give you my word and my guarantee that I'm going to make sure that this does not go south, and knowing you've got a 95% chance of saving all that money, are you at least willing to give me a shot and just try it out? I mean, let's give it a shot. What do you say? Like, make them say no to you. So it's like they said no to cash discounting already, but now they got to say no to you. And what you'll find is when you go that route, Erica, usually they're either going to, turn you down cold, right? At that point, they're usually like, look, I don't want to do it. Or they're going to give you the real objection. So that's when they're going to dig a little deeper and say like, well, look, it's not you. We like you, Erica, but I make these decisions with my partner. I don't think they'd feel comfortable or whatever. And a lot of times with cash discounting, we forget that cash discounting is a much larger decision than switching to traditional processing. You know what I mean? Like they deal with, how many times have they switched processors? It's like, if I have a business partner, I don't even need to let them know when I switch processing companies, like, or a spouse or whatever. It's like, oh, you do it all the time. But it's like, we're going to change the way we do our pricing strategy. Well, right. Now all of a sudden there might be other decision makers involved and things like that. And they may not say that. And I think as credit card processing agents, we're so used to glossing over that because it's like, oh, tell your partner later that you switched processing companies. They won't care. And we're right. They really won't. But tell your partner later that you decided to shift your whole strategy and start charging your customers more money as a service fee or a non-cash adjustment. That's not going to fly. Like, they're actually going to have to talk to their partner. So I think just like putting that into perspective and making it personal is hopefully going to draw that real objection out. And then you can deal with it as you would any other time, and set up your meeting to come back. So I would say my advice would be make them say no to you, not just to cash discounting.